If you're doing a fiction book, this is the point, of course, where you're creating your characters, you're setting your scene. And, I can do a whole section on this, and I will at some point. But of course, characters, quickly, you want to do the backstory for your characters. You want to write out their history, all their character attributes, their, little unique ways of being, their idiosyncrasies, and really kind of write them out. What was their family like? What were their parents like? What were their grandparents like? So that you really kind of know this person now. So when you're writing them, it's very organic. As far as the setting, if it's a real world setting, like Canada during the War of 1812, or Victorian England, or the Wild West, or anything like that, the important thing is to know your setting. Do your research and do it right, because it's not something you can just fluff, because people do sometimes, but it only takes a little bit of inconsistency, a little bit of that's not right, to make your audience break that illusion of willing suspension of disbelief. And so if you ever see like a documentary about, like, and I know the Marvel movies do this really well because they have the budget for it. When they do a set, there's like all kinds of incredible detail that you don't even notice when you're watching the movie, right? The only one who really notices are the actors, but it helps the actors to really believe like they're actually there, because, even the little stuff like what's on the papers, the newspapers actually got actual relevant stories that would be there. They got all these little fine details that they include that, unless you stop the movie and really examine them, you're not really put any kind of thought to, but it all helps to create that setting, that illusion of being there. And in a similar way, you really want to do your research so that you understand what it was like, what the customs were like, what the people were like, what the dress was like, what the food was like, so that you can explain it in a way that makes it feel real to the reader. And the last thing is the theme, which you don't have to have a theme, but theme is generally something that's really going to elevate your book to make it more memorable. And just to give you an example, I just did a story a short while ago on the theme of it was the loss of faith. And I had 3 different characters. One was a captain, and his crew, because of a mistake he did, a crucial mistake he did, his crew lost faith in him, and a lot of them walked off. Another character had just gotten a new job, was very happy to have it, and she knew it was going to be challenging, but she was all in. And then something happened, and now she's in a position that she really doesn't know if she can do it or if she's cut out for it. And then the third character is basically a priest, and is required to do such a big step of faith that even his life is potentially at risk. And he's like, I don't know if I can do this. So all 3 characters, very different, but all of them along a theme of faith and loss of faith in that. And then the next story, as it continues, say, each solve that in their own way. But that's just to give you an idea of theme. So now that you've got all that, the next thing is, and we've talked about this before as well, is just creating your outline. Chapters, if you can like name all your chapters, and then that kind of gives you the structure, the backbone that's going to be of your book. If you're doing a fiction book, sometimes they don't always name the chapters, but you want to at least do a paragraph on what happens in each chapter, right? Or some fiction writers are more structured than others. So some fiction writers know exactly what's going to happen all throughout the book before they start writing it. And other fiction writers are more loosey-goosey, and they kind of let the characters write the book. And they just let the characters kind of decide what happens next, which is fine and it's valid. But even if you're going to do that, you need to put tent poles, major tent poles in the book. And for a fiction book, that's the start. Where are these characters when we first meet them? What is the status of their life? What is the crisis? What is the thing that happens that puts them in conflict and creates the action that now carries the story forward? What is the rising action that's bringing them through? What is the twist that happens unexpectedly, which makes everything even worse right before we get into the climax of the story and then the wrap up? So you kind of want to tent pole these in your story so you know where it's got to go. So if you're just kind of letting the story write itself, you need to get to this point and then this point and then this point. Because without those, you can just have a story that meanders and you don't even get to the crisis until chapter 5. And by that time, everyone stopped reading 3 chapters ago, right? And so you have to at least have those kind of tent poles in your book to give you the structure so you can just start writing it.